Hey guys, welcome to Linda's Kitchen. So today I'm making a recipe that actually my parents used to make, but I have my own little twist on it. I'm calling it Linda's Hearty Summer Stew. But my parents always had a beautiful vegetable garden and they grew lots of vegetables, including zucchini, tomatoes, green beans, all kinds of things. And so I've added a few ingredients that my parents didn't always add to this. They used to put potatoes in it as well. But basically that was it. It was the tomatoes, the zucchini, the potatoes, and the green beans. But I an onion. But I'm adding some escarole, which has to be cut, washed at least 3 to 4 times, and then we went out to the garden and picked some of our San Marzanos. Usually, if I don't pick use tomatoes that I grow, then I'm buying them from the store. I will score these, and then Linda's tip: I'll score them and I'll peel them before I use them in the stew. But these have a very light skin, so I'm not going to be doing that on this version. I'm not using all of these zucchinis that are here. I'll be just using probably one, a large one and a small one, because that's going to be plenty. The escarole, I add anise. Anise gives it a little bit of a sweetness. So if you don't like the sweetness or the taste of anise or like a little bit of a licorice, then leave it out. I'll be putting some potatoes in here. And I also like to add the summer squash as well. I put some celery, onion, and because I don't have very many tomatoes, I have 6 of them from our garden. I have a couple more that we just picked today that need to ripen. And I have a ton of little grape tomatoes, but we're not using those in this. I'm going to supplement because I want that nice tomato broth with a can of these San Marzano, the Centos, which is the brand that I really like to use. So I still have to prep all of this, but I'll be putting it all, I'll cut it all up and I'll go through the steps with you. I also had in our garden, I picked some fresh basil and some fresh thyme, some oregano. I have a little bit of tarragon, gives it a little bit of a peppery flavor, and parsley. There's some fresh parsley here. I do like to add marjoram, but I didn't find any in the garden, so that's not going into this. But I have it all written out, and when we post the recipe online, then I'll post it in there for you. This is not an exact recipe. Use what you have. That's what cooking for me is all about. So whatever the ingredients are here is what's going in the stock pot, except for not this much zucchini. So I'll come back and I will show you what we have in a little bit. So we've done most of the prepping. I still have to get all these spots off the potatoes and cut them up, put them in a little water to get some of the starch out. But we've kind of more or less prepped all of our veggies to go into this hearty stew that we're making. So I do want to share with you. I had thought I was going to put in anise bulb. However, it really wasn't very good, and I'm not going to use it. So that is being discarded. It'll go out to the animals. But let me tell you a little bit about what I have here before I go through and cut up these potatoes that will go in here. We have some green beans. So those have all been prepared and ready. On this, I have our fresh garden tomatoes. And I have 3 bay leaves that will be going into this. And I think about 5 or 6 garlic cloves that I that I chopped up. And then here, because I don't have enough, I need a tomato-based sauce. And I don't have enough of my own garden tomatoes. So I have a can of the Cento the stewed tomatoes. So those are right there, and those are going to go in there as well. Over here we have our own zucchini from our garden, and then some summer squash that we got from the market. Here's a combination of onions and celery. We have some onions growing in the garden, but they're not ready yet. And here we have some scarola, and it's in our little scola pasta. That's what I always call this, because that's what my parents always called this, was a scola pasta. It's a you call it a colander. So that's there, and I'll go through everything, the progression of how it's going to go in. But the next thing I'm going to do, and is get all the blemishes off of this. We have some bad parts of this of these potatoes, and I want to get rid of all that. Anything that's gunky on there is coming off. I'm going to cube those, put them in here. I'm going to put them in pretty decent sized chunks, not massive, but pretty. You'll see. I'll take a picture of everything after, so you'll see what's here, and then we'll be back. See you soon. So we're getting now to making the stew. So I'm putting some olive oil in here, and I'm not measuring because I don't measure. So, but I would say probably about maybe a cup, 3/4 of a cup of olive oil. And I might actually have to add a little more. I have about 6 garlic cloves that I just chopped up, not very finely, and 3 bay leaves. I always put 3 for the Trinity. There we go. So, and I'm not going to cook these by themselves for very long, because we do not want them to brown. We want them to cook but not brown. And now I'm going to put in the onions and the celery. And I'm just going to do that to get everything just a little tender. And you see, I didn't like slice the onions up. You know, sometimes you slice them in the diagonal before you slice them into chunks. I didn't do that because I want nice chunks of onion in here, and I want nice chunks of celery. So I also didn't, cut the celery stalks. I used the whole stalk and just cut it, because it's a nice hearty summer stew. So now here is all this. I don't think I need to add any more. You can come and take a look. I don't need to add any more oil. That's pretty good. I'm not going to let this go too long. I'm going to keep stirring it because I don't want anything to burn. I definitely don't want those onions, the garlic to burn. And I'm going to now get my tomatoes. These are now the tomatoes from the garden. If I was buying store-bought tomatoes, I would not cut them up like this and use them in here this way. What I would do is I would cut a little cross, and I put them in a separate pot of water to boil, just so that the peel starts to peel off, and then I'd take them out, and I would peel the skin off of them, and then I would put them in here. I'd core them, I'd core out the core, but then I would slice the other side so I could peel off the skin, because I don't want like a lot of the skin in this stew if I can avoid it. But I'm supplementing with some canned tomatoes, because I don't have enough tomatoes yet that are ripe in our garden. I'm going to let this cook just a little bit. I'll be right back before I put these in. All right, so come take a look. They're not transparent. They don't need to be, because this is going to cook for a little while, but at least they're cooked down a little bit. So now I'm going to add the tomatoes. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that beautiful tomatoes from the garden. But they are not enough. And I do need to add these, but I need to cut those. All right, so I'm going to do this my way. I just washed my hands, and I'm just going through like I do if I'm using them for sauce. And I'm just breaking them up a little. That's all. There we go. That's a perfect. Sono perfetto. Now, oh, look at that. It smells so good. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Now I'm going to add this. And of course, I'm going to use some nice water here to clean out this bowl, because we are not letting any of this go to waste. There we go. So now there's that. I'm going to give this a few minutes with these tomatoes, and then I'm going to put in the zucchini. So I decided to add another can of the tomatoes, and I crushed them with my hands in the can, and I just put some water in, because we're going to be adding water to this anyway, to kind of get all that residue from the tomatoes. There we go. So now what we have is a real nice tomato base. And now I'm going to add the zucchini. Now the zucchini is a vegetable that has a lot of liquid in it. So it's going to increase the amount of water that goes in here. And this is a combination. I just brought them over from the board I had over there of the zucchini and the summer squash. And let's see, there we go. So now this is going to start to cook, and it's going to release more juices. That summer squash is going to release a lot of its water. But before I stop at this phase of it, I'm going to add some more water. I just got that from our purified water, or not purified, but honey, what do you call the filtered water? What's it called? He knows. There we go. And I'm not adding any salt. I'm not adding anything yet. Right now it's just standing on its own. And I'm going to add a little more water, but I'm going to leave the rest of the water here, because I may need it, I may not. There we go. And there's one more thing I'm going to add before I let this sit, and that is the green beans. So we have a few green beans, and I'm leaving them whole like this. You could like cut them into equal pieces. I don't worry about that stuff. It's like it is, and there you go. So now, got the green beans in here. Woo. Now I used to wait to put the scharol in, but that takes a while to break down. So it really don't have to wait that long for it. Now this has been washed 3 times. And this will also release water. And that's why I'm using such a big pot. But this won't be this much when it's all done, because of course all the vegetables will cook down somewhat. Do you want to take a look at that, honey? There we go. Look at that. This is going to be so hearty and delicious. If it wasn't so hot outside, I would make some nice crusty bread to go with this. And if I didn't feel like I really need to go rest, I probably would start making some dough, but that's not happening with this. But maybe we'll go to the store tomorrow and get some fresh bread from the bakery. Look at that. All right. Now, one other thing I'm going to add. From the garden, I picked a little bit of parsley, some thyme, some oregano, and I have way too much here. I'm not putting it all in here, but I'm putting a little bit in here. And I also have some tarragon. There we go. So there's that. And what I'm going to do, and basil, there's basil that's going to be going in there. And what I did was I made a little bouquet. And all that's in this bouquet is a little bit of basil, some parsley, and some thyme. And I'm going to tie this to my handle, and I'm going to put it in the pot. Now, I have 3 bay leaves in the bottom of this that I'm going to have to fish out when this is all done. But for now, I don't need to worry about it. And what happens when this is done, most of this is going to come off the stems and be right in here. And we will flavor it up with some salt and pepper at some point. But right now, all of these wonderful vegetables have to marry. They just need to have a little bit of a honeymoon. So that's what they're going to do right here. Look at that. Adding a little bit more water. And the last thing that's going to go in here are the potatoes. But I want some of these to soften up before we put the potatoes in. And then I'll break some fresh basil to put in here as well. So we'll be back in a little. We're going to put the cover on this and let it sit here. I'm going to put it on probably like a medium heat and walk away, go do some other things, and there you go. So we're back. So honey, come take a look. See, these are still need to be cooked some, but they're starting to get tender. But the escarole now is really starting to get nice and tender. So I want to add the potatoes. But before I do that, I need to do a little tasty test to see what. Now, I've put no salt in this. So I want to see what this is like. Oh, you can taste the freshness of the zucchini and the tomato, just all those juices in there. It's so good. Need salt though. Definitely need some salt. So I'm going to put a little. Now, I normally wouldn't put a ton of salt in here because I like my pecorino romano cheese, and that gives a lot of salt. But my beloved doesn't. So I usually would add like a rind of either a Parmesan or a pecorino in this, but we're not doing that. The other thing that it really has a nice flavor of are these herbs that I got from our garden. I'm actually going to add a few more because you can really taste those. It tastes so fresh and wonderful. And I'm going to add some, I want to take the stem off of that, some of this fresh basil here. I just have about 3 little. Just ripping it up, putting it in there. Basilicole, as we say it. I know some people in Italy say it different ways. My parents always said basilicole, so that's what it is to me. It's the basilicole. Now, I use that spoon. I put some salt in it. Before I put the potatoes in, I want to use a separate spoon, the clean one. And I want to taste it again. I think it's going to probably need a little more salt, maybe some pepper. It does need a little more salt. And this is what I use for the salt. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to add some fresh ground black pepper. Oh, this is going to be so good. I haven't made this in a while. Okay, I think that's plenty. This is a nice big pot of stew, so it's going to take a little bit of. And now I just want to mix that up. Now, I would normally maybe add a little more liquid to this, but I'm going to drain some of this that I have from the potatoes that have been sitting here. And then if there's a little bit left in there, that's fine. It'll be a little starchy. It'll go right in. There we go. And, oh, I don't think I cut them up that well, did I? There we go. But that'll cut up as it goes in there. There we are. Oh, look at that. So I think this is good. I don't think I need to add any more water. I have some water in reserve here. I'm not going to need it. Also, as the thyme, see, it goes right off the stem, but I'm going to leave those in there for the flavor right now for a little bit. And I do have those 3 bay leaves that are in here. Here's one of them right here, but I want them to get the flavor. So I'm going to leave those in for a little while, and I'm going to set this to the stove to simmer for a little while longer, clean this up, and I'll come back with the plated stew. So this is the stew, Linda's Hearty Summer Stew. Here it is. It just looks so delicious. Look at this is zucchini from our garden. Now it's really hot, so, and I'm not at the traditional bar stool here because I have a more comfortable chair. So let's see, because I've got to put my pecorino cheese on this. Mm, it's so good. Needs a little salt, but for me, that salt is this. Not all of it, but let's see if I can find a potato in here. I maybe didn't put the potatoes. I put a potato in here. I have potatoes in the pot, but because I tasted one in order to make sure that it was done, and it is. But look at this. We've got this delicious summer squash. I usually do the squash and I do the zucchini. I cut them a little differently. You saw, I think I did little half moons for the summer squash, and I cut the zucchini in quarters. And we have the celery and the green beans and the potatoes and the garlic and the onions and all kinds of good stuff in here, and fresh tomatoes from our garden, along with some stewed tomatoes. Oh, this is so good. And this is how I like my salt. A little pecorino romano. Let's see if we can get some of that. Escarole, or scarole as we call it. Look at that. So good. And this is so healthy. It really is. And how can you get better? Fresh from your own garden. We don't grow the green beans. We didn't grow the summer squash. We didn't grow the scarole. But next year, I think we're going to be adding those things to our garden. And we didn't have enough tomatoes, but still nice fresh veggies and the rest. Buon appetito.